Welcome to Impossible Live. Welcome back if you're joining us again. And if you haven't, if you're a relatively new watcher or listener to our series, and I just want to really set the stage today, you are in for an amazing treat. Not only do we have an amazing, wonderful returning guest, we have an inspirational coach. She's going to let you know a little bit about herself, but I need you to know that today's session title, Journey to Self, you will keep seeing this as an upcoming series because I am just too delighted. This brilliant woman, Aries, I had the pleasure of meeting in the positive intelligence community. And in the positive intelligence community, what Aries will laugh is I met Aries because I was waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning on Fridays to listen to Aries and Allie uh, in on Clubhouse, and they were having 6 o'clock meetings for people in other time zones. And I think they really didn't know why I was there, but I fell in love with this beautiful woman's voice, and I fell in love with Ali also, who was also a guest. But in this process, and today's title, with total transparency, Journey to Self is the subtitle of Amazing Ari's new work of art. And I am honored. I am honored she is here as she's launching her book, as she's launching a circle attached to her book. And let's let Aries introduce you to wonderful her. And this woman, she's got mad, mad skills. If you look at her LinkedIn profile, I teased her, which certification? Hey, Dr. Marcia, thank you for joining us. I teased her. I said, which of your certifications is most important? So she's brilliant. She's a fabulous writer. She's an amazing guest. She's a fabulous podcast host. And she's now an established author. So Aries, let's take it away, and please let our listeners who haven't had the pleasure yet of getting to know a little bit more about you.
I'm here. Thank you, Mel. As what I said before we get started, you're just so sweet, and your introduction have made me feel like I'm a cloud and I'm floating now. So thank you for having me here, and the beautiful title, "Journey to Self." Um, that has always kind of been with me. I kind of drop it and then it come back and it's come back. I think we are all on a journey, aren't we? Just a different state of our life and just whether we notice. But I guess, or else I would say the biggest journey we are all on is the journey to the self. Yeah. So where do I go for here? I'm supposed to say take it easy. So what I'm supposed to say next?
You're just supposed to be wonderful you. And that I think is part of the delight of having conversations with you. And I've had the pleasure of listening to conversations you facilitate, of being on other stages with you, of having a wide variety of conversations and dialogues. And I think that your real reminder is just what you said. It's not what you're supposed to say. It's that we're here, fully aware, fully present. And I am delighted to welcome you back to Impossible Live. Uh, Aries, I think you have shared that your amazing book is available in hardcover and in softcover. And I, as an advanced reader, I am encouraging Aries, where is the audio book? Because in your amazing clubhouse rooms and your amazing clubhouse community, I've had the opportunity to listen to you read. And I think that was one of the joys of It's really an honor having advanced reader copy. I had no idea what it meant. Aries is like, "Can I send you an arc?" And I'm like, "An arc? I'm the geometric girl." I'm like, "Where are we going?" But your advanced reader copy helped me peel back some layers, which I think is the hardest part in a journey to self. We get stuck in different places. We get stuck in the shadows, we get stuck in the stories, sometimes we get stuck in the memories or in the emotions. I was having a conversation with another amazing coach, Maricel K. Rocha, who I am working with. She's also a PQ coach. And Maricel Roker, she has a health extension. So we're working on the health journey. But I think the reminder is that somewhere in your stories, in every one of our conversations, you're reminding us there's something that bubbles. We used to talk about it like a bubble under a current in the water, right? And we know something's up. We sense something, we feel something. Maybe it's an emotion, maybe it's a hidden truth, maybe it's just something on a different level of awareness. But you really helped me understand the bubbles part. I had coaches talk about that for years, the stuff below the surface that we don't necessarily acknowledge. We don't necessarily share it with those we live with and those we love on a daily basis. So I think I'd love to start there because your your amazing book has an invitation in there for us to really sit with the bubbles. Like I I'm reading your book and I have to pause. And it really helped me acknowledge what I call a sacred pause. So I think I'd love to talk about that part because your journey to self within your book is just so rich and so deep. And thank you again for joining us with transparency and lighting up our week.
Um, can I deviate a little bit? As you're saying this, something come to mind because I'm not, I'm at the moment just started. Sorry, another certification. Dare to lead. The certification with Burnett Brown. And one of the homework we have to do was writing I am statement. So we either asked to do a PowerPoint or just write a poem. So I did get AI to do some help. I said, based upon my book, can you pull out something from me? And so this is what the AI did for me. I just want to read it out because it's actually from the book itself, but it just kind of put it into certain words. Is I am. I'm awake. I don't know whether you remember this. I think chapter 3. I'm awake, though I spent decades mistaking the dark for daylight. I'm more than the glass tower, the title, the tireless need to prove. I am the child who vowed never poor, and the woman who learned that the vow was never about money. I am the compass I spent 30 years searching for outside myself. I'm not what I survive, I'm what I choose to become. I'm love, not as reward, not as performance, but as a foundation I had to return to. I am authenticity, not something new, but something finally unveiled.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Ah, I am breathing and appreciating that Layla is acknowledging what a powerful journey and that she just had a hot chocolate chat with you, a fantastic conversation.
Yeah. We just have a wonderful chat before this. Yeah. Um, I mean, I hear you saying that, that just come to mind. I thought would be nice to share that. It's kind of a poem, and I thought, what is a better way to say that than just pulling out from the book. This book started about, I think, about 8 years ago. I cannot remember how long, but it's about 8 years ago, and it started. I wanted to capture memory of my son, And of course, over the time, I realized it's more than that, and it's more about me. It's the living rather than the date. And I also realized that to make this meaningful, it cannot be just about me. So I come over the time, over the years, I gather that the book is about me and yet not about me. About me, what I mean was I'm the model in the book. Model as is an invitation for people to introspect of their own life. But it's difficult to ask somebody to look into their own life if nobody is taking the first step forward and do that. And so that's what the book is. It's an invitation and using me as a model. But the book is not about me, but about each one of you who pick the book up and read. Should I say the book?
Oh,
So
definitely, definitely. And I'm gonna spotlight you because you know that I'm here, but I want to show off your amazing book and to let others know also there's a link under Ari's name to learn more about her book and also to join her amazing circle. So please tell us a little bit more about how you came up with this beautiful title.
um, I was just about to talk about the pictures, but I can talk about the title. When, to be very honest, when I first think about the title, I was feeling quite small and insignificant. So the first title that came to me was The Little Book of Authenticity, because I feel, oh my, what can I write? It must be really small. And I did find a writing class, and they say, oh no, you should, because the book is about unveiling. And so that's how the title came about. And even when I finished the whole manuscript, I was still thinking what title to use. And we kind of looked through a few, and in the end, I went back to this because it's about unfolding, unveiling of who you are, and there is a journey, and we are all on that journey, which is why it's called Journey to Self. And I would like to talk about the picture. Can you see some face, a mask? Yeah, I think some of my posts I talk about we all have masks. It's not about, I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying that we all wear masks for different reasons and probably our necessity. What would that be if we take it off? And have you ever wondered the mask that you put on for a long time, are you able to take it off? And what happened when you take it off? So I think this is what this book is. And that's why I choose a mask. Um, I'm not sure I want to talk about the color. There's a lot with the color. I chose this color to be a cream and white because that's the color of my son. He liked white. So the book have a lot to do and how it started because of him. Um, yeah, I think you have to read it for yourself. Um, I think now back to what you see on the bubble. I would say the first part, the very first chapter I talk about is the autopilot that we are all in. Is autopilot is not the wrong thing, and is how our human brain works. But the thing is, what are the things that's autopilot, and how much things is the autopilot that we no longer realize that we're on that. I think that's what I want to call that up. And with the autopilots, the story that we tell ourselves and we repeat the story. And when we keep repeating the story, what is happening to us? So I think that is the beginning. Yeah, I think I'll pause here.
I just love that. And what you'll find our amazing guests who are joining us live or for replays is, as I was sharing with Aries before we started, I really want to go wherever Aries wants to go because the process of just reading your book and the beautiful celebration and tribute of your amazing relationship and journey as a parent, but your journey as a person, you really are inviting us to kind of lean in. And I am so grateful to be reading your book slowly. I really related to the picture of of the mask and the process of removing it and the fact that it looks like an outline of a mask. Other people don't necessarily see them. Yep, Layla's saying it exactly. In some cases, it's finding ourselves again, but in some cases, it's discovering ourselves again. And I've been having a lot of conversations around trust and cultivate trust in a fragile AI world. And in that process, that part of sometimes not realizing that we're wearing a mask. It happens for leaders, it happens for family members, it happens in different situations in which, as Aries was saying, and I really agree with this. Hey, Lachelle, warm welcome. America's Supermom is here. And and you reminded me also of an amazing book that Lachelle wrote about 7 steps to living mask free. Many of us don't realize we're just showing up in the different roles. We're just trying to plow through, plow ahead. And one of the things that I love about your book and the opportunity to read it at a slower pace is there's an invitation in there, not just to be fully present, but an invitation to really get fully aware and fully clear. Martha Lobos Amayo, and I really appreciate her. Martha had said during our last We Rise into Our Open House, Martha, we were having a conversation about energy and radical transparency. Your book reminds me when Martha bought it, when Martha brought it up and brought up the term radical transparency, your book is that invitation to show up in a way. And the radical part, for many, it may feel like we're coloring outside the lines. And I think it's one of the things that I love about the art on your cover. We're not aware that we're wearing a mask, and we're not aware sometimes of what inspires us to take the mask off or remove it.
Yeah, I think that's what you say, right? We sometimes we take it off and we're not realizing we're wearing a mask. I think the thing is, um, the masks have started with a purpose, a bit like a saboteur that we're learning. It has a purpose and it has served us. But at some point, when it stops serving us, do we realize that it has stopped serving us? And are we able to take it off, especially if you have the mask for a long time? Have the mask become us?
I think I think sometimes we're not aware of which mask we're wearing. We're just used to the process of wearing a mask and in different roles, because sometimes we show up in different roles and in different situations, in different environments, and we're not really feeling it. We're not necessarily feeling really present. We may be leaders or at some different stage of an aspiring leader, an emerging leader, and Aries has amazing talents in terms of helping executive women and executive women in a midlife. But as Lachelle is saying, healing from our trauma is a personal journey, and we hinder our healing when we compare ourselves to other people and try to rush the process. Ah, thank you, beautiful Lachelle. I think the part is you're reminding me, and I just had this conversation recently with someone as the board that I'm on is about to Fearless Hudson Valley Inc. is about to celebrate their 40th anniversary in less than a month. And it's a board that I'm on for human trafficking, teen dating violence, intimate partner violence. And um, at the very my second board meeting, Kellyanne offered us a chance to read a paper on trauma. And I'm sitting there, brand new board member. I haven't really raised my hand. I haven't really said anything other than introducing myself. And I raised my hand to read a paper on trauma. It is so personal and so intimate. Ari's in the part of exploring authenticity unveiled. Just like the masks almost remind me of a veil that we're lifting, of movements and steps that we're taking. Dr. Marcia is saying, connecting to and believing in yourself is the greatest feat man will ever accomplish. Because when you connect and believe in yourself, you know your why, you understand your why, and you live your why.
You know, the why is a very powerful word, and the why is very personal. And the why is our essence, our purpose, and our meaning. Yeah. And I think when we go into our own why, then we kind of move away from the comparison. You know, when Lasha was saying that we hinder our healing when we compare ourselves to other people, it reminds me of the judge, right? The three component of judge, the inner critics, and the comparison. When we are comparing, we are either better off, I'm superior, the egoistic, or I'm worse than you and I feel very small. So when we are comparing, we will always be not anywhere, I would say. And only when we're able to stop comparing and look in, and I'm not sure you read the chapter 6 about self-love. I think that is the third part, the integration started with loving ourselves. And the loving ourselves is the compassion cell, which is the sage. And that is a big part of self-acceptance. I think a lot of us, no matter how successful we are, how we look, the hardest part is accepting ourselves. I have somebody who wrote a very long reflection upon reading the book. I think it has been very triggering. So I need to warn people who read this that it's quite triggering for a lot of people. Of course, which one trigger you depend on your own personal experience. And he said that he find that chapter 6 and 7 was the hardest because it's talking about courage and loving himself and accepting himself despite all the success that he have in his life. So it's easy to look out and do what we all other people want to do, and the hardest part is to come back in and I'm good enough and I am enough.
As Aries would say, I am in the middle of chapter 6. So no accidents, and a real reminder of timing. I have a tendency, and I'll be straight up, I love books like yours where there's a table of contents, where sometimes there's a title of a chapter that calls to me as an invitation, and sometimes I will read a book out of order. I did not do that with Ari's book. What I learned was, in this process of exploring and through the lens of self compassion, because I think that's one of the most interesting things about the mental fitness journey that started over 4 years ago. I didn't have any compassion for Mel. I had it for everybody else in the entire world. It was, I would gift wrap it, I would shrink wrap it. It could be in your favorite color, that gift of compassion. But my judges at the time, I didn't know how to give that gift to myself. So I think one of the things as I'm diving deeper into your book is that now I'm approaching it through the lens of self love, self care, self trust, self empathy. But I think one of the gifts, and One of the things that makes it challenging, and Aries will laugh every time I read part of her book, I just sit and start journaling. It's taking me someplace I needed to go. And I love what you were saying about the compass when you were reading your I am statement. And I'm at a point now where cultivate trust is becoming an invitation to help others explore their compass. And I have to thank you because your timing of and sharing your book before the holidays, I needed a sacred pause. And I think sometimes we don't see ourselves through the same lens that others do. Aris and I were just having a conversation before this, and I said that's not what the people who live with us would say. We don't see through that lens, right? Of family or good friends or colleagues or old friends. I had the pleasure when we met Lachelle a couple of months ago of meeting one of her besties. That lens, I now call it a trust lens because I had to learn to trust Mel in the journey. That has been the biggest gift about this process, this journey. But I before when Aries was talking, I had to turn off my mic because I noticed in this journey to self, in this part about self compassion or self love or self trust or self empathy, I almost lose my voice. There's something that really kind of shifts, as Aries would say, on a soul level. But I love your invitation and I love hanging out with Martin Stark, the courage champion, to have the courage to keep reading, to keep writing. I think, and I'll remember in a separate conversation with Aries to share some of that of that journal and actually put it into a post. So I haven't gotten to chapter 7 yet. So chapter 6 and 7, based on someone's reviews, you're letting me know really if I've been pausing all this time. I really need to pause with chapter 6 and 7. But Aries, you have a circle coming up around your book. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Before we go there, can I just read the quote that I put on chapter 6, because I love to
You
put.
can read anything you like. We are here for it and with you, and we can't wait because you're coming back next month. So we love when you read to us. Let's please
It's
read,
just a very
please.
short one. The pillar of self-love. That's the chapter 6, and I used the quote from the book The Art of Power from the Vietnamese monk. So he said, "To be beautiful means to be yourself. You don't need to be accepted by others. You need to accept yourself." I thought that was the beautiful quote to start the chapter. And then what I did for each chapter is always a short overview. I just going to read just a little bit. I just think it's just nice. So what I say is, knowing yourself is not enough. Understanding your value, which is the compass, as we explored in the previous chapter, is essential, but that is only half the journey. The other half is learning to accept yourself, the flaws and all, with genuine compassion. So I explore why self-love is not self-indulgence, but the very foundation of authentic living. Because without self-acceptance, the growth become a harsh external pursuit, achieving without evolving, striving without arriving. Through the lens of neuroscience, personal narrative, and practical wisdom, you will discover how the inner judge sabotage authenticity and how self-compassion unlock genuine evolution, and why accepting your perfectly imperfect self is not a destination but a fuel for the journey. So thank you for allowing me to read this. Yeah. And your question, the circles. Yes, I'm giving the first 100 people who pre-ordered the books into this, the so-called the founding reader circles. And what I like to do is those who do a pre-order, do send me the email so I know. And then I'm going to do a 90 minutes, something like a master class, and then we get together to do some reflection. I'll send an early PDF copy, so you have on top of the book you have a PDF. So you can have an early read before the launch on the 14th April. And then we can come back and do a little bit of reflection to see. I mean, I'm not expecting you to finish the whole book, but even just one chapter is good enough. What the book stir in you. That's what I'm, yeah.
I love that. And I especially love that you're mentioning one of the things that did catch me in chapter 6 was that whole bit of us feeling sometimes that self-love is some sort of indulgence, that in a sense we're removing some sort of attention that should be shared or showered on others. We're removing some sort of lens. We're removing the gift. But the real reminder in that chapter and in our conversations, just in general, Aries, are that there's the gift to give to ourselves helps enhance the gifts that we're able to share with others. And I think that's the part that my judges didn't let me see in the beginning. It's the reminder, that you can't drink, can't put beverages in a full cup, or or what we pour into ourselves. I in this process of part-time caregiving and accelerated, it's the rate at which I'm doing it is really changing. I had to really learn to take care of myself, or there's no residue, no wellspring to help take care of others when they're ready to be taken care of. And I think the important part about the self-indulgence is the conversations I'm having with those loved ones about caregiving and about life. They're all in their own self journey, and we gave ourselves permission in this process. It's not self-indulgent. You're just taking better care, almost as if we were tending a garden and nourishing a garden and remembering we can be a flower in that garden, and not feel like the world is revolving around us. It's a reminder to take that time. And I never made space for this before getting certified in trust and hanging out with Yvette Bethel in her Say Yes to Me course a couple of years ago. I never would make space for these moments. And I love that quote about the indulgence, because sometimes it seems like I'm really giving into this. I'm really leaning into this, as opposed to I really just need to keep taking greater care.
I think most of us just think that loving self is an indulgence or selfish or self-centered, but not realizing that we can't really pour from an empty vessel. If we keep pouring out and we never pour in, one day you go empty, and then we'll be pouring out from that empty vessel. And what are we really pouring out? Yeah.
I had this conversation with a dear friend recently who was saying to me that I've been calling a little less. And I said, part of it is also out of courtesy, it's out of respect. And she says, well, I really want to know what's happening with you. And I said, I'd love to talk. But the real reminder that we need to create those spaces, that we need to show up from a peaceful place. That if we're in that trauma lane, or in a lane where we're dealing with a lot of what it feels like are open wounds, um, I I really, really appreciate you. And I appreciate your book so much because you're reminding us to take great care at every stage, at every phase, at every step. Aries will say something and ask you a question. And I love this because I love showing up in your clubhouse rooms. And in your clubhouse room, Jill asks us a question, and you're like, come on stage, let's talk about it. And I'm like, I need to pick up a pen and journal about this. So I think you're reminding us in the process of moving through authenticity unveiled journey to self is to be really careful about the steps that we take. And Aries will say, and we'll laugh because Aries and I have had this discussion for the past couple of years. I was allergic to the word authenticity. I believe for Mel, I had to be genuine because I had to learn that that mask that others see can sometimes to them seem like they're seeing authentic Mel. And I had to learn because of all the different levels and layers of mask, almost like we're peeling an onion or an apple, or hopefully we'll one day be at a hybrid retreat where Aries is making her fantastic sourdough breads. But that process just of the ingredients or the peeling back of the layers, I had to realize really where I was getting stuck. And I think your authenticity unveiled journey to self is an invitation for us to take the wheel, as they say. And I needed your invitation just when it was. I noticed, the holidays sometimes can really get challenging as we're sitting coolie high style with someone we love not in a chair around the table, when we're in our own memories. And this is an anniversary week of a really deep of my dad getting his angel wings. And in this process, I really just have to thank you because I knew I wore the mask. I knew others occasionally would say that they couldn't see behind them, and I I didn't always remove them, if that makes any sense. And now I've given myself the permission in that gift of self compassion, of self trust, of acknowledging today's not a day where I want to wear a mask any longer. So I want to thank you for that gift. And you introduced me to your book, and then meeting Lachelle, I really I really learned how to remove the mask. And I think that's the hardest part of unveiling. We're not sure what we want to reveal to each other or to others. And you're in a professional setting where sometimes that mask, we keep the mask because it feels safe.
Um, Lots came up for me as you share that, Mel. One thing was removing and how to remove. And a lot of time we keep it on because it's something we are so familiar and it's safety. Of course, it reminded me of the big word of vulnerability with Bennett Brown. What is that about? It's about and so hence I talk about in this following chapter the courage. It's always easy to go out, but the real courage is coming back in because we don't want to face ourselves. And I have to say something. I did release my podcast this month, and even though I've been listening to my own recording for a long time because of the coaching journey, it's still not easy to listen to your own voice. Even now, um, yeah. So back to saying that when we are so comfortable and not remove the mask, and when we remove, how do you remove? I think the book kind of not telling you how, but just saying that in that journey, what do I do, and for you to reflect. I think that is my style of doing thing. Is this is what I'm doing and what I think we can do. What about you? A reflection questions. And so when this book first, when I first gave the manuscript to the editor, they came back to say that too many questions. I was like, okay, too many reflective questions. I was told maybe you want to take them out a little bit. I was like, oh, so the editor was good. There was there were a couple of better reader as well from the same genre, and they all gave the same feedback to say maybe take it out a little bit and asked me to create a companion guide. So the book come with a companion guide, so maybe I want to ask you to speed up a little bit because the companion guide comes with for every chapter There will be more reflection question on top of what is really in the book, and it will come with more prompts and journaling for you to write. So I would say this is more about me. The companion guide is more about yourself.
Well, I'm looking forward to it and looking forward to your guidance. I think what I had to really learn was the level of really deep emotions that were behind the mask. So, I think in this process, or as I always call them, complex seasons of gratitude, grief, and growth, they're accelerating. And in the process of them accelerating, the reminder that I needed for myself to create moments of stillness was what I had to learn. And being still wasn't something. It wasn't something people who know me well. They're always like, oh, something's going on. There's a motor. We can hear the motor grinding. We can hear the wheels turning. So I think for myself, I'm really looking forward now to your companion guide, because in each chapter, in each line, I've looked at it both ways, if that makes any sense. I looked at it through the lens of my judges. I looked at it through the process, really, of liberating my inner critic. Mel no longer. I used to say I would point fingers at myself like those copper pots with the dents in them. Every one of those dents, I could remember the tool or what created me to kind of poke the hole at Mel. And I think I love that you've got this companion guide. And oh, Angie, ooh, Angie Alexander, sage leadership, sage presence, sage energy in the house. Angie, I am delighted you're here to join us, and you're going to love this because Aries is coming back next month. This subtitle, Journey to Self, is the subtitle of amazing Aries book, Authenticity Unveiled. And the real reminder, just in this process, whether it's thanking Angie for bringing me to the mental fitness community or introducing me to Sage Leadership so I could find Aries Yeo, is that part that underneath this voice, there's a deep emotion. And we said it before. I, I, I laugh when you're smiling about your podcast. I had a lot of trouble listening to my own voice. I think now I'm getting better, thanks to Carla Sellers, my amazing team member, because there's an audio of every live stream we do. And I'm now starting to listen to the audios. What I had to learn, just as Aries would say, was sometimes that wellspring of emotion is so deep that we can't watch the live stream. We can't listen to the podcast. I just listened to a podcast on Possible Live, God Only Knows, from 6 months ago, and a really deep wellspring of emotion. And I'm processing it. But I have to thank you, Aris, because in your amazing book, there's the invitation to just show up, as Angie's saying, with sage presence, to show up and really respect and listen to our own voice with care. There are days, the introvert, I don't feel like showing up. I don't feel like talking. And I have to thank you for reminding me it is my duty to show up, duty to self, duty to those we love, duty in a sense, and duty, kind of a diligence, I think, part is what I'm getting out of your amazing book. I need to show up for Mel. And I never felt that I never felt that call to action before, if that makes any sense. So I have to thank you for that amazing gift in every single page and every beautiful letter. And for those of you who are on Clubhouse, check out Ari's amazing series. Ari's, are you still doing your series on Wednesdays, or and let
Yeah.
us know where we can find your podcast also.
I'll put it in the chat later on.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
Can I just maybe have this quote because you're saying that the last chapter, I know you haven't read them. So the quote I have on last chapter is "You can't stop the whales, but you can learn to surf" by Joe Kabat-Zinn. So we're all on this journey, and I have to say that on the last part of the book, the integration, the love, the courage, and the practice, um, come a lot from PQ. Yeah. Um, yeah, because PQ teaching us about the sage versus the saboteur. And to have the sage is self compassion, and that's coming from love. And none of us will be perfect. So if we don't learn to surf and we always try to stop the whale, then we will be always in the saboteur, hijacked by the saboteur. Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for introducing those who have not had a chance before to check out Positive Intelligence. Reach out to Amazing Aries, reach out to Angie Alexander, pop into their fantastic rooms on Clubhouse, and check out Ari's amazing podcast. I'm really looking forward to hanging out with you on that journey. One of the things I have to thank you for, beautiful Aries, is the transparency and the amazing temperance of your voice. You have helped me learn how to sit in spaces with really deep emotions in a way if I hadn't met you and if I hadn't met Angie, it never would have happened. So I have to thank you both, but thank you for that gift. And I am going to accelerate my reading of Ari's book because in a month we're gonna get back. Today, Ari's mentioned chapters 6 and 7. I know Ari's in a month she will be mentioning the the conclusion of her book. And in your podcast, is your podcast also taking a journey through authenticity unveiled, journey to self, or is your podcast on another topic?
My podcast is actually not as a result of the book. It was been at the background for a couple of years, and then it just kind of all come together. I think the universe have a way of doing things. But then the podcast is called Leaving Authenticity. Yeah, we talk about all the practices, but what is really so I released the first one this month and I explained what is authenticity, what is it all about. And then the next one I release on April 12, and I'm going to talk about all the challenges we have to be living authenticity.
Hmm.
So it's kind of similar but yet different. This is about asking, the book is talking about getting you to slow down and introspect where your life is. And of course, it's not going to be easy. So the podcast is more about our voice, not my voice, but our voice coming together. And I'm kind of starting with a few episodes. And I would love to have any one of you, but if the message resonate, come forth and share of your story. I think that's what the podcast is coming forward and share your story so that other people can hear your story and realize that we're not alone. We're all on this journey. Yeah.
And anything we can do to help each other eliminate isolation along the way, as well as the invitation to just show up. Aries would say authentically, Mel would say genuine, and the reminder is to unveil whenever you can. You never know. There's somebody out there who really needs to hear what you have to say, that conversation, or to really benefit from the richness of the experience of just meeting you. And I want to thank you, Aries, for returning to Impossible Live and for agreeing to come back again. And Journey to Self will now become a new series within Impossible Live. I want to thank you for accepting that invitation.
And thank you for
But I
having me.
truly want to thank you for joining us, especially a week where you're recovering from jet lag. And amazing Angie is sending us the most beautiful hearts. And for those who have not had a chance to pop into the positive intelligence community or into some of these sage leadership or sage power uh, sage power rooms that we're talking about. And as Layla's saying, storytelling is so powerful and can help others experiencing something similar. And she loves that. We want to thank you for joining us today for Impossible Live. Stay safe, stay well, stay inspired, stay in touch, and have a magnificent day and week filled with blessings, opportunities, and possibilities. And Aries, thank you for joining us. We're looking forward to you joining us again.
Thank you for having me.
Truly my pleasure. Our pleasure. Take care, everyone. Be well.